Hello everyone, my name is Kelly Schooley. I am a wellness dietitian with the Department of Recreation and Wellness. And today I'm going to be talking to you guys about Chapter 9, Nutrition Basics. But first I wanted to tell you about our services since going virtual. So we are offering individual nutrition counseling. We do these via Zoom. We can do it on the phone as well if you'd rather do that. All you have to do is just email myself or my coworker Chelsea, and we can set you up with an appointment to talk to one of us. And you can also follow us on Instagram at unf.edu. We post lots of recipes, education, and quizzes. Okay, so we're going to dive right in. Again, we're talking about nutrition basics. So why is nutrition important? So I want you to stop and think about, why do we eat, pretty much? What kind of things does nutrition do for our body? So some things is that it can provide overall health. It gives us energy. It improves our performance. It can strengthen our immune system. It can help us maintain a healthy weight, reduce our risk for disease, and provide us with growth and development. So our bodies can survive on the bare minimums. And when we eat a little bit healthier, it just helps to improve all of these things. So what are the components of a healthy diet? We have 45 essential nutrients, and those are broken up between macronutrients and micronutrients. You might have heard someone say, oh, I've got to balance my macros. What do those consist of? Those are your carbohydrates, your proteins, and your fat. They are macronutrients because we need them in very large quantities. Then we have micronutrients, things that we need in very small quantities. Those are our vitamins and our minerals. And so we get all these nutrients from the foods that we eat through digestion. Our body absorbs them. So more on the components of a healthy diet. Food is measured in kilocalories or kcals. That's the measure of energy that's in food. And we know that every individual has very different energy needs. Your height, your weight, your gender, your activity level, your age, your day-to-day activities can all play a role in how many calories that your body needs. So when we break down those macronutrients, carbohydrates give us about 4 calories per gram. Proteins give us, again, 4 calories per gram. Fat, about 9 calories per gram. So we're going to dive into carbs. So they are our body's ideal source of energy. Carbs supply energy for our body cells. So carbs we eat them and our body breaks them down into glucose. So those are starches, sugars, and fibers. All cells utilize glucose for energy, and our body uses that glucose in the form of glycogen when it stores that energy in the liver and in our muscles. So again, carbs are our body's ideal source of energy. There are simple carbohydrates, which are our monosaccharides, our single sugar molecules. Those are glucose, fructose, and galactose. We have disaccharides. Those are pairs of single sugars such as sucrose, maltose, and lactose. Then we have complex carbohydrates, which are multiple sugar units such as starches and fiber. So some examples of simple carbohydrates are refined grains, soft drinks, cookies, cakes, liquid sweeteners, added sugars, lactose, and juices. And here are examples of complex carbohydrates. We've got beans, peas, potatoes, vegetables, whole grains, and fruits. All right, so fiber is one of my favorite things to talk about because it provides us with a lot of really great benefits. So fiber is a part of the plant that our bodies cannot digest. It literally cannot break down fiber. So we eat it and it passes through our bowel system and we poop it out. Pretty simple. So some of those benefits improve our digestion and gut health. It helps to create a feeling of fullness and slower the time to empty the stomach. Bowel regularity acts as a natural broom to remove waste through the intestinal tract. helps to lower cholesterol and reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes, heart disease, obesity, and colon cancer. So how is it doing those things? So first we have insoluble fiber. So my favorite example of this is corn. Have you ever ate corn before? If you eat corn, what does corn come out looking like? Corn, right? So corn, the shell of that corn is an insoluble fiber. It passed right through your digestive system without being digested. That's insoluble, meaning that it didn't absorb any water. It just stayed whole and passed all the way through. That helped create that bulk and roughage that you need to keep your bowels moving regularly. Then we have soluble fiber. So my favorite example of this is oatmeal. Have you ever made oatmeal before? What happens when oatmeal absorbs water? It gets this like spongy, sticky texture to it, right? So you eat that, and again, our body can't digest fiber. So that fiber passes through our digestive system, and as it's in there, it's really sticky. If you remember that texture of oatmeal, and it actually sticks to cholesterol and allows you to poop it out. So that's why, like Cheerios puts that label on their box that says may help reduce cholesterol, because of the insoluble fiber in there that's helping to remove that cholesterol into your waste. What's great for that is that our body uses cholesterol. It's very important, but if our diet is too high in cholesterol, and there's nothing there sticking to that cholesterol so that you poop it out, your body reabsorbs it. And that's how cholesterol builds up in your system. So we need that fiber in our diet. Both types of fiber are very important. We need to have both. So sources of fiber are pretty much all plant sources. It's recommended that men get about 38 grams a day, women about 25, and it needs to come from food, not from supplements. If you're able to eat, you should be eating plenty of fruits and vegetables, whole grains. That's where your fiber's at. Pretty much anything that comes from a plant. So sugars in your diet should come mainly from our whole fruits, low-fat milk, and other dairy products. Added sugars, so it's really when any sugar has been added to your food. This says empty calories, but they're not really empty. It's still giving you energy. It's just lower in other types of nutrients. So you're really only getting one type in there. And sometimes that's okay, and sometimes it's not. So a high intake is associated with dental issues, excessive weight gain, and type 2 diabetes. All right, so more on carbs. And so here we've got a picture of a whole grain versus a refined grain. So the whole grain, this is an example where if you can picture in your mind a wheat field and the wheat's blowing in the wind and they take that one piece of wheat, that little grain, and they dry it and they grind it up and they make bread out of it, you now want to have 100% whole wheat bread. That little piece of grain had that bran layer on the outside, it had the starchy endosperm, and it had the germ. All the parts of the plant were there. It provided our body with a lot of nutrition. Great. Then we have refined grain. So these companies have learned that they can split up this little plant and sell the parts for more than they did when it was a whole. So now we have the endosperm only, and this is an example of like white bread, which again, there's nothing wrong with white bread, but we can get a lot more nutrition when we choose the whole wheat one. But sometimes white bread just tastes better. Like I love like crusty white bread. So there's nothing wrong with eating delicious loaf of Italian bread. But when we're making sandwiches all the time or choosing crackers, we can choose a whole grain variety. So those refined carbs tend to be lower in fiber, vitamins, minerals, and other beneficial compounds. When you're shopping, you can also look for that yellow symbol, and it'll tell you if that product has been made with whole grains. Typically, a company's going to want to advertise if they use the product, whole grains in their product. So here's an example of a package of whole wheat bread. You can see on the ingredients list down here at the bottom that the first ingredient says whole wheat flour. So we know that this product used whole grains. All right, so now how much carbs should we take in a day? If you were to Google that, you would probably get a zillion different ideas. all based on different types of diets that are out there, but in general, about half your food should come from carbs. But it can range anywhere from 45% to 65%. A marathon runner needs closer to 65% because they're burning a lot of energy. So, in a typical 2,000 calorie diet, we have anywhere from 225 grams to 325 grams. Just to put it in perspective, a slice of bread has about 30 grams to it. So the focus should be on a consumption of a diet rich in complex carbohydrates such as whole grains. Okay, our next section now is protein, and this is the basis of our body structure. So proteins form parts of the muscle, bone, blood, enzymes, hormones, and cell membranes. Proteins are broken up into amino acids. Those are the building blocks of protein. There are about 20 common amino acids. 9 of them are essential, 11 are non-essential, meaning that the body can produce them. They're still essential to our body, but our body is pretty great and it can make some of their own amino acids. Our protein sources can come from animal or plant-based. Any type of animal meat is on there, poultry, seafood, eggs, nuts and seeds, beans and peas, soy products, and dairy, such as cheese. Complete proteins provide us with all essential amino acids. So most animal proteins are complete proteins, so we can get all of our essential amino acids from animal-based proteins. Plant-based proteins are incomplete, so we do need to get a good variety of plant-based proteins if we're not consuming any animal products to get all of the amino acids that we need. And also a lot of whole grains also include amino acids. They have some plant-based proteins in there. So you can get them from a lot of different sources. So the recommended amount of protein intake is about 0.8 grams per kilo of body weight a day, and that can range anywhere from about 10 to 35% of your total calorie intake. So if you wanted to do the math yourself on this, first you need to take your weight and you can convert it to kilos. So if you took a 150-pound person, for example, we divide that by 2.2, so 150 divided by 2.2 will convert our weight in pounds to kilos. That would be about 68 kilos. And then we're going to times it by 0.8, and that's about 54.5 grams of protein a day for a 150-pound person. So that's equivalent to about 2.5 chicken breasts, 3-ounce chicken breasts. Okay, our next section is fats. They are essential, but in smaller amounts. So fats or lipids are the most concentrated source of energy. They store energy and provide insulation and support. They are a major fuel source during rest and light activity. We have some types of fats that are essential. The linoleic acid and alpha linoleic acid are essential to us. So fats can be broken down into different types. We have saturated fats and unsaturated fats. So our saturated fats are typically found in animal products or tropical oils, and that is where all of the carbon molecules are taken up by hydrogen molecules. So they are fully saturated. Then we have unsaturated fats like monounsaturated and polyunsaturated, where there is a double bond in there, so they are unsaturated. Unsaturated fats tend to be liquids at room temperature, and saturated fats tend to be solids at room temperature. And we also have trans fats. They occur naturally and unnaturally, so they can be created when you take a saturated fat and you add even more hydrogen molecules to it to make it even more shelf stable. So where are these types of fats found? Our saturated fat, as we said, mostly in animal fats, in our tropical oils. Trans fats are typically going to be used in products that have a really long shelf life because the fat doesn't go bad in them. So, but there have been regulations on trans fats, and so I'm pretty sure there should be no more trans fats out on the market, except the ones that are naturally occurring, which can be found in animal products. And we've got our monounsaturated oils, like olive oil, canola, and safflower, avocados and olives, peanut butter, when they don't add extra fat, depending on the type of fat that they add. And then many nuts also have monounsaturated. Then we have polyunsaturated, our omega-3s, which we don't get as many of those in our diet. So those are things that we need to try to increase, such as those fatty fish like salmon, tuna, anchovies, and sardines. And then we have polyunsaturated omega-6s, which we get too much of, which are corn, soybean, and cottonseed oils. All right, next we're moving to vitamins, which are micronutrients, meaning we need them in small amounts. So vitamins are organic, meaning carbon-containing substances that are required in small amounts to regulate various processes in cells. There are 13 vitamins. We have 4 fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K, meaning that we need to eat fat to absorb those. And then we have 9 water-soluble vitamins, B, and our B complex vitamins. And so with those, we need water to absorb them. So different sources of vitamins. So our body does not manufacture most of these vitamins, and they are very abundant in fruits, vegetables, and grains. So what are the functions of vitamins? Well, they help with our chemical reactions in our body. They help to unleash energy, produce red blood cells, maintain our nervous, skeletal, and immune systems, and they act as antioxidants. So each vitamin has its own specific function within the body, and all are needed in very different amounts. So I'm not going to read over everything on this chart, but it's very interesting because when we start overdosing and taking supplements of vitamins that we get already from our food, there are things that can happen. So we can look over here at these toxic effects in megadoses and see that it's not good to overdose on these vitamins. We can get them from our diet. They do their job in our body, and we don't need to take crazy supplements, megadoses of these vitamins. At the same end, we need these vitamins, so we don't want to have deficiencies in them. They can create prolonged effects from not having them. More vitamins. We often get asked about biotin. It is found in a lot of animal-based proteins. You do not need to take supplements of biotin if you're eating a well-balanced diet. It is a waste of money. So, I mean, it doesn't have a toxic effect, but there's no reason to take it. It's a waste of money. These B vitamins, so these are all really important in our energy metabolism. So we can get those from mostly animal-based products. If you aren't eating that many animal-based products, oftentimes a lot of grains like cereals will fortify with them. You can eat nutritional yeast has been fortified with it. And again, so you can get it from animal sources. You don't need to take it in a supplement unless you are extremely low and you've gotten your levels checked by a doctor. Vitamin C it's found in many different fruits and vegetables. So there, again, is no reason to take it. You can't, if you feel a cold coming on, you cannot overdose yourself with vitamin C and expect that vitamin C to shorten your cold. That doesn't happen. The vitamin C has to be there before, and it really is only just promoting your immune system to work correctly. There's no such thing as boosting your immune system by taking extras of any of these vitamins. So then we've got our minerals. These are inorganic micronutrients. So these help our body regulate its functions and release energy, aid in growth, and maintain our body tissues. So there are about 17 essential minerals. The major ones, we need about 100 milligrams or more a day. That is like calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, sodium, potassium, and chloride. Then we have trace minerals. So we need very, very small amounts of those. That's like copper, fluoride, iodine, iron, selenium, and zinc. So when you hear that word trace, a good example I like to use is salt. If you're buying fancy salt that has trace minerals in it, it's in such small amounts, it's not really necessary to buy that type of salt. You can just use regular iodized salt. So issues can arise if too many or too few of these types of minerals are being ingested. We can have iron deficiency anemia, osteoporosis, and low potassium, which can result in high blood pressure and heart disease. So here's more information about certain types of minerals. So our calcium, pretty common source is in dairy products. We're not eating dairy. It can be found in leafy green vegetables. Often it's fortified into soy products or orange juice. We need calcium for our bones. Up to the age of about 25 is when your body is building up its bone density. After that, it's just a steady decline of our bone density. So it's very important, especially in your younger years, to be getting enough calcium so that you have strong bones into your older age. So we also have our iron. This one's really important for women to make sure that we're getting enough iron. That's going to be in red meat. It's also fortified into a lot of products, and it can be found in some dark leafy green vegetables. Iron is what takes oxygen throughout our body. So if our iron levels are low, we tend to not have as much oxygen. We feel fatigued and tired because we have low oxygen because there's not enough iron. Here's just more. So you can see sodium is on here. So sodium or salt is an essential mineral that we need every day. So we can find that in just plain salt. It's in some foods, soy sauce, any food that's been prepared and salted. So we need plenty of it. But a lot of our prepared foods tend to have way too much sodium in them. So our bodies are pretty great and can handle excess amounts of sodium, but over the course of a long time, too much salt can lead to hypertension and edema. Sorry guys, that jumped ahead a little bit. Okay, another essential nutrient for us, but it's often overlooked, is water. So our body is about 50 to 60% water. We use water all over. So in digestion and our absorption of food, it is the medium in which chemical reactions take place in our body. So it's very important. To maintain hydration, these are just estimates, but men about 13 cups of water a day and women about 9. Things like how much your physical activity is or your what area of the world you live in. Here in Florida, it's really hot, it's very humid. We need more water than people that live up north. So those types of things need to be taken into consideration. Other substances in food, antioxidants, and some of these are the vitamins and minerals which act as antioxidants. So that means they can help reduce the amount of free radicals in our body. They are antioxidators, so they stop things from becoming oxidated. And we have phytochemicals or phytonutrients. There's lots of these in our food. So soy foods have them, different types of vegetables, and things like garlic and onions, and carotenoids like in green leafy vegetables, and carrots, and red bell peppers, and things like that. So it's important to get all colors of the rainbow when we're choosing foods for those phytochemicals and antioxidants. So now you know all the basics of nutrition. So how do we use that education and plan what we eat? As a dietitian, we often get asked for meal plans, and you don't need one essentially, because you know your food preferences the best, and you know what food types of foods you like and how you like them prepared. And as long as you have basic nutrition education, you can really put those puzzle pieces together yourself. You eat for your hunger, you stop when you're full, you enjoy food, you take pleasure in it, and you can have your own, meal plan if you want to call it, but every day is going to be different. So meal plans where it gives you calories and grams, yeah, those are great for a day or two, but then life happens. And so we really don't recommend strong meal plans unless somebody's maybe an athlete or has a certain medical condition where those types of things need to be accounted for. So we have some tools that we can use to plan out. When we say diet, we don't mean like calorie reduction, we mean just like the food that you eat. So we use the DRIs, the dietary guidelines, and My Plate. So the dietary guidelines for Americans are designed to encourage, improve, our nutrition and physical activity. So there's 5 overarching guidelines. It recommends to follow a healthy eating pattern across the lifespan to focus on variety, nutrient density and amount, limit calories from added sugars and saturated fats, and reduce sodium intake, shift to healthier food and beverage choices, and support healthy eating patterns for all. So some more of these guidelines include less than 10% of calories from added sugars, less than 10% of calories from saturated fat, less than 2,300 milligrams of sodium a day, and alcohol is 1 drink per day for women, 2 drinks per day for men. Also strive to meet federal physical activity guidelines and maintain a healthy body weight. So this chart just kind of shows where people are meeting the recommendations and where people are not, or exceeding them. So you can see up at the top, even vegetables, very few percentage of the population gets the recommended vegetable amount. Same with fruits, whole grains about 50-50, dairy not there, protein, most people are doing that, oils, and then the added sugar, saturated fat, the sodium, those ones are exceeded. So global nutrition transition. So the quality and quantity of our diet is changing with globalization. We have increased availability of cheaper foods, urbanization, and increased sedentary activities. And increases in fat and sugar are implicated in cardiovascular disease, obesity, and diabetes. So pretty much with more access to food, we are seeing poorer health outcomes. So here we have My Plate. You have probably seen this. If you're a little older like me, you might have been taught the My Pyramid in the beginning, but now we have My Plate, which I think is a pretty good visual. It kind of gives you a visual for how to incorporate 5 food groups at each meal. Our recommendation is about at least 3 of the 5, but some days, you're going to sit down with macaroni and cheese and you're not going to eat those other things. So again, we practice flexibility and eating in moderation and just enjoyment of all foods equally, and listening to your body. So first we have fruit, which is what? What type of macronutrient is fruit? Do you remember? It is a carbohydrate. It has fiber and many vitamins. The recommendation is about 2 cups a day. That is equivalent to so 1 cup is about a serving. That's about a piece of fruit, or a cup of juice, or half a cup of dried fruit. Then we have vegetables, also carb, and it's naturally low in calories and fat. It's high in fiber, it's got lots of antioxidants and things like that. We need about 2.5 cups of vegetables a day. If you are eating raw leafy green vegetables, It's actually 2 cups is equivalent to 1 cup when you think about how many you need a day because of that volume that the leafy greens take up. Then here we have our grains. So we really want to try and aim for those whole grains like we talked about before, where the bran layer is there and the germ. We get a lot more protein and fiber and healthy fats and B vitamins when we choose our whole grains. And we need about 6-ounce equivalents each day. 1 ounce is about a slice of bread or a 6-inch tortilla, half a cup of rice. Then we have our protein. So we should get a variety of protein when possible. We can choose between plant and animal-based proteins. They give us all those amino acids that we need and all the vitamins and minerals. And we need about 5.5 ounces a day. 1 ounce is about 1 egg. So to think about it, the palm of your hand, the palm of like a woman's hand, or about the size of a deck of cards is about 3 ounces of meat. So if you can picture a chicken breast the size of the palm of your hand, that's about 3 ounces of meat. So that's well over half of what you need in a day. Then we have dairy. It is recommended to do low-fat, fat-free just to avoid the saturated fat, but sometimes the full fat tastes better. I like to buy full-fat Greek yogurt just because that fat helps to keep me full for longer if I'm making a smoothie. If I buy cheese, I do not like low-fat cheese. Buy natural cheese there, but you know, it's in moderation. It's not sitting down and eating a whole block of cheese. It's cheese with crackers and fruit, things like that. So MyPlate, if you go to their website, they can help you determine your calorie needs if you're really interested in that stuff, and it'll break it down based on how tall you are and how much you weigh and your physical activity. But just remember, take that stuff in moderation. You know, every day is a little bit different. The best indicator of how much food you need to eat is how hungry you are, listening to your body. You know, eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full, give yourself permission to eat. We see too much restriction, and that in turn results in binging. So if you restrict yourself, you're going to end up binging. So might as well just eat the food in the first place and not feel guilty about it. So we have different types of meal plans or eating plans that are out there. One is called the DASH diet. It's a dietary approach to stop hypertension. It was designed to help people to control their high blood pressure. So it is focused on reducing your sodium, increasing your potassium, and just getting a really well-balanced diet. So it's a great plan for people with high blood pressure. And we have vegetarian eating. So vegetarian is when we restrict or exclude foods of animal origin. There's all different kinds of eliminations here, restrictions. I've seen it all. But you know, eating no animal products does not mean it's a healthy diet. I had a client who pretty much only ate Chick-fil-A French fries because they were vegan. They're potatoes and peanut oil, both vegan. And so it wasn't the healthiest diet. She was really lacking in a lot of things, but she thought she was being healthy because she was eating a vegan diet. So we do have to be cautious of things that are predominantly available in animal-based products like our B12, our vitamin D, calcium, iron, and zinc. So sometimes those things need to be fortified into the diet or supplemented. So when you are making your personalized plan, it is important to read food labels to know what's in your food, to have that information ahead of time when you're grocery shopping. Looking at calories can be important, but you should, again, really just think about how hungry you are. Sometimes you need to eat a larger breakfast. Sometimes you need to eat a larger snack, and that's okay. You know, if you're really hungry at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you eat a rice cake, you're going to be hungry about 5 minutes later. So you might as well just listen to that hunger and eat a larger snack. We don't really recommend dietary supplements because a lot of times they're taken in excess or not taken as directed. And it's not a substitute for a healthy diet. You cannot supplement your way to health. We can get a lot of the stuff we need from food. There are some people who do benefit from supplements, and those are usually prescribed by doctors or looked at by the dietitian. If you read the food packages, there are a lot of different nutrition claims out there, and some are regulated. So these are all words that are regulated by the FDA to decide how they should be used. But even if a company is new and uses words incorrectly, as long as it's not really like harming the public, they're given a year, 2 years to take that food off the market. So it could still be sitting there before somebody says, hey, that's actually not healthy, or that's actually not a good source of XYZ. So just keep that in mind when you are buying prepared foods that have a bunch of fancy labeling on them. I mean, if it's Chips Ahoy cookies and it says it's a low-fat cookie, okay, well, they have to make that cookie taste good. So how do they do that? They add more sugar. So now you've got a low-fat cookie that has extra sugar in there. Does that mean it's going to taste better? Is that going to fulfill you just because it's low fat? Probably not. Your body's still going to crave that thing, so you might as well just give it to it and then move on with your day. I don't really like low-fat cookies, can you tell? Okay, big one, foodborne illness, especially in this time of COVID-19. We are especially cautious to make sure that we are reducing illness. The FDA has told us at this point they do not see COVID-19 passing through food. So that's not really an area of concern, but there are still a lot of foodborne illnesses that can pass through food. So something like salmonella or E. coli can still be on our food, and we need to properly prepare our food to make sure that those types of things don't get passed on to food that we're eating without cooking. So some basic principles here is to have clean hands. We know how much we are washing our hands right now, so always wash your hands before preparing food. We need to separate our raw and cooked and ready to eat foods when shopping, storing, and preparing food. So in a fridge, you don't want to have your raw chicken on a plate right above your fresh strawberries. There's a high likelihood of cross-contamination that could happen there. So I don't recommend doing that. You should always store your fresh foods up on top and your raw foods towards the bottom of the fridge. We also need to store our food at very safe temperatures. If you bought a sauce from the grocery store and it was in the refrigerated section, you need to refrigerate it when you get home. I've had lots of people say, oh, it was just in my pantry for, overnight, 24 hours. It's still fine. I'm like, no, it's not. There was a reason it was in the fridge. The fridge keeps pathogens from growing. So make sure you're keeping things at the proper temperature. About that, I jumped ahead. So again, what kind of foodborne illnesses are we trying to protect ourselves against? That's like I had listed earlier, even the norovirus, Shigella, Listeria, Staphylococcus. There are a lot of gross things that can happen when we are not taking good care. Even when we think we're taking good care, things can still happen. So it's really smart to be washing your hands, keep cooked and uncooked food separated, and keep things at the proper temperature. Clean or change out your cooking utensils as you're cooking. If you used a spatula on raw chicken, you cannot use that same spatula for the end product. It has been contaminated. You need to treat it as if it has something on there, switch to a new one, clean it with hot soapy water. It sounds frustrating, but these things have to happen to make sure that we are avoiding foodborne illnesses. So just to review, so the components of a healthy diet, we need our macronutrients, which are carbs, proteins, and fats, and we need our micronutrients, our vitamins and minerals. How can you make informed choices about food? You can read food labels. You can know what's in your food product. You can get by with basic nutrition education, knowing what's a carb, protein, and fat, and knowing how to make good choices about your food. And you can put together a personal nutrition plan for yourself. Again, you can use My Plate to figure out your calories, but I think the best indicator of how much food you should be eating is your hunger level. If you're restricting, you're going to be hungrier, you're going to end up binging. Just eat based on your hunger. If you need more help with something like that, that's what dietitians are here for. We want to help you to be the best academically that you can be. And if you don't have that food energy in your body, your academics can suffer. So if you want an appointment, send us an email. We are ready to help you. So some top 5 things to take out of this. Number 1, don't skip meals. 2, increase your fiber. 3, rethink your drinks. 4, reduce fried foods. And 5, update your plate. So number 1, don't skip meals. So this goes back to that restriction and binging. So now we're home, probably too available to food, but that doesn't mean you can't be trusted in the kitchen. You can still eat and eat the right amount of foods when you're listening to your body. So the best way to do that is to eat frequently throughout the day. Eat small meals. It could be about 3 meals a day. It could be snacking in between. It could be a day full of snacks. I mean, we have freedom now at home to be making, really trying to hone in on what our body needs and how much food we should be eating at each time based on our hunger. We can incorporate healthy, balanced snacks. That could look like an apple with some peanut butter or a cheese stick. It could be some fruit and some Greek yogurt, and maybe some raw vegetables and hummus. Again, your taste is up to you and what types of things you like to pair together. Sometimes we want crunchy and we want, smooth and creamy. We want tart, we want sour, there's all types of senses that we can think about when it comes to choosing food that tastes good. Maybe sometimes a rice cake is what you want. You want that crunchiness, but maybe you need something a little fulfilling, so you put some peanut butter on it. Listening to your body and not feeling guilty for wanting to eat. Food is our energy and we need it frequently throughout the day. Number 2, we need to increase our fiber. So fiber comes from those plant sources of food. It helps to keep us full. It helps to keep us regular. We're getting it from plants. So fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, and legumes. Rethink your drink. Staying well hydrated. I always keep a thing of water. I like ice cold water, so I have ice, I have a straw, exactly what I need to be able to drink plenty of water. So get a nice cup, know where you can refill your water. We're not on campus right now, so at home, from your fridge, from your faucet, from a jug in the fridge, wherever you're getting it from, just stay well hydrated. And it's okay to have sugary beverages every once in a while, but for the most part, we should be trying to drink water. Okay, so you've learned a lot today, hopefully. And one thing that we do in our nutrition counseling is set SMART goals. They've been well researched and shown to help people make changes. So when you are ready to make a change, it's good to kind of go with this method. So our goals should be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Saying that you want to eat, vegetables at every meal might not be the most realistic type of goal. But if you say, I want to make 3 nights a week, I want to add vegetables to my dinner, that could be more realistic. It's specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's realistic and timely. So kind of use something like this, and this could be for anything in your life. If you want to clean your room, maybe saying clean your room is too big and broad. We could say clean your closet, or clean off your bed. Do something smaller that is more of a SMART goal. All right, and that's the end, you guys. Thank you so much for listening to me today. I really appreciate it. Again, if y'all want an appointment, go back to the very first slide and you can get the information of how to email us. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. We are here for you guys. This is our purpose, is to be on campus to help improve your academic success through eating right and wellness and nutrition. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Hope you have a good day.